All right, welcome to the Week 1 Forum. This video is intended to provide students with some ideas for discussion. I'll be posting these videos week to week in this same area for each forum. This week is likely to be a little longer than the videos for the later weeks because I want to briefly mention what the expectations are for the forums, so please bear with me. First, a brief introduction. I am Ken Hicks. I think I mentioned this in my other video or in my introductory video. I'm the instructor for this course. I've been at RSU since 1999, so I'm starting my 21st year. I'm also the department head for History and Political Science, and I'm the primary instructor when it comes to foreign policy and international relations specific topics in the public affairs curriculum. Political terrorism was an area of concentration for my master's degree curriculum, and this is a course as a subject area that I'm very familiar with and comfortable teaching. Please take a moment over the course of this week to introduce yourself within the forum, talk a little bit about your interests and sort of why you're taking this course. I really want to stress to students the importance of the forums for successfully navigating this course. I mentioned in the Start Here video that students should look at the forums as sort of a week-long virtual classroom, and I want to let you know what I mean by that. To get the most out of these forums, you need to be visiting them daily, preferably a couple of times a day, and you need to be reading and interacting with one another. It also means kind of bringing your confusion to the forums, and if there's something that confuses you or that you don't understand or that you don't feel like the author does a good job of describing, then you need to bring that into the forum, and that will give me an opportunity to give you some feedback and hopefully to clarify things. It also means that you as students work on making substantive comments. I want to stress to you that I don't really credit you making fluff comments to one another where you compliment on, one another on how clearly you write or what a great idea and all that kind of stuff. If you look at the syllabus, you'll see that there are a lot of rules governing the forums. And if you look critically at those rules, what I am trying to do is to set parameters that will require you to make consistent quality contributions to the forums. Again, review the forum guidelines and the syllabus and make sure you take the forums seriously week in and week out. If you do, I think you'll probably do well in the course. This week we're establishing the broad kind of fact base that we need in order to go into greater detail in later chapters over the course of this semester, dealing with issues related to terrorism and other forms of political violence. One of the most important issues for understanding terrorism as a political issue is the role that symbolism plays in a lot of the violence that we label as terrorism. For example, the selection of the World Trade Center clearly had symbolic importance for Islamic radicals that were members of Al-Qaeda. Clearly, symbolism played an important role in how terrorists selected that target and how they select targets in general. In reading this chapter, think about symbolism as a marker for understanding, particularly dissident terrorism, and how that can help us better analyze and forecast how dissident terrorists and for that matter establishment terrorists are going to or likely to behave in the future. Now, in contrast with dissident terrorism, obviously you have some people who want to overthrow the state, and then you also have other people who are intent on using whatever means necessary to uphold the state. State-supported or state-sponsored terrorism, they're sending a fundamentally different kind of message. Symbolism is fundamentally different. It's designed to intimidate would-be revolutionaries and just the population in general into quiescence. In the text, Martin notes the reign of terror during the French Revolution as an early illustration in the modern era of establishment terrorism. There was a manic quality to the reign of terror where revolutionaries were literally trying, the people who succeeded in seizing the French state were trying to uproot the monarchy, the nobility, and the church from the French state, the pillars of the ancien regime. And the reign of terror highlights how successful revolutionary movements that control a state can really wreak a tremendous amount of damage. Um, Martin also addresses some Latin terms. The idea of jus in bello, or justice in war, is particularly important for understanding why we generally look at terrorism as innately or uniquely kind of unacceptable in ethical terms. With very few exceptions, terrorism as a term is deployed to delineate the kinds of violence that are almost universally decried as transgressing most ethical and moral boundaries. The challenge for understanding terrorism is to recognize that attaching that label, terrorism, to a particular action or policy is always going to provoke a great deal of controversy. And again, I think I've mentioned the role that ideology plays in that. Look at how many Americans reacted when Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez described the Trump administration's detention facilities on the southern border as concentration camps. Think about the implication of that term, what it means, and why it provoked so much heat in American discourse on the Trump administration's immigration policies. You think of it, when you think of it in those terms, you get a sense of why, labeling an action as terrorism can become such a controversial, act. The power of definition and of fixing labels on actions and policies confers a tremendous amount of political influence. It amounts to the power to set the terms of political discourse, which is why people fight so hard over terms like terrorism or concentration camp. I'm running a little bit long. I really don't want these videos to go too long, so I'm going to conclude here. Please take the opportunity over the course of this week to reference the study guide for this week's reading in the course resources section, as well as the PowerPoint presentation. I hope that you'll find them useful. If you have any questions, ask them in the forum. That's what the forum is for, okay? So let's have a great week.